U.S. Olympic Committee leaders are in Denver today to scope out our city for a 2030 Winter Olympics bid. They're meeting with the power players and the politicians. They're presumably looking at the venues, maybe getting a feel for Denver by watching a local newscast. Welcome. Bad news, USOC folks. Denver's mayor and Colorado's governor were at your closed-door meeting today, but our incoming governor wants to close the door on your Olympics. What better way to kick off our Polis's Promises series with him punting the Olympic bid?
The way I look at it, these are like fun things for like millionaires and business people, but it leaves the rest of us with the debt and the price tag. If you look at every other place that's hosted the Olympics, it leaves a legacy of debt and underutilized infrastructure. I don't think we need it in Colorado, and I think it'll make things worse, not better. I will not, as a sitting governor, support bringing the Olympics to Colorado. The only carve out would be if somebody else pays for it, if there's some, billionaire that gives the state the money. We'd look at it, but that never happens. It doesn't happen, and I'm against Colorado continuing with its Olympic bid.
Denver and Salt Lake City are the last two American cities interested in a 2030 Olympic bid. Reno Tahoe bailed earlier this week. It's pretty tough to see how the USOC could seriously consider a Denver bid at this point, because you got a governor coming in who's adamantly opposed, plus there's that citizen initiative in Denver that would put up a funding hurdle. It's gathering signatures right now. Colorado's closest remaining race from election night could be in Castle Rock, where the first mayor's race in 30 years is separated by 2 votes. We're not going to know who won this thing until Thursday. You got to be thinking, election was a week ago. I mean, what are we waiting for, people? Well, our Marshall Zellinger explains how bad penmanship is one of the reasons that race is still undecided.
When it's 1 week after Election Day and your race is still too close to call, coffee is required.
I've had a handful of people come in the store and say, gosh, I wish I would have voted, and it took a little restraint on not to cry or scream. Jason Gray is running for mayor, and he's behind 2 votes. He runs Crowfoot Valley Coffee in Castle Rock, where as of this morning, 231 ballots have not been counted, because there's a question about the signature on the envelope.
Those are people who either forgot to sign the signature or the signature that they put on the ballot didn't match one we have on file.
Those voters received this letter in the mail saying that there is something wrong with their signature. And then they're given this affidavit to fill out, sign, and return for their vote to count.
It's just so exciting. You couldn't imagine this sort of thing happening.
Randy Reed currently leads Jason Gray by those 2 votes. Both Reed and Gray could proactively reach out to the 231 voters and let them know, hey, something's wrong with your signature. Your vote hasn't counted yet. And by the way, did you vote for me?
One of the candidates asked me over the weekend, well, how do I know if it's mine? I said, well, you call them and you ask them. He says, and they're going to tell me the truth?
I haven't personally made any contact with any of those uncured signatures. However, I have volunteers out. They're doing everything they can to make sure every vote gets counted.
I would do it right this second. Actually, I want to leave this chair. I did not know that, so no one's mentioned it until now, and I appreciate it.
Voters have until 11:59 tomorrow night to send in the paperwork confirming their signature.
People might not think their vote counts. Here's a perfect example for you that your vote counts.
Overseas and military ballots will also be counted through tomorrow night as well, as long as the postmark was before Election Day. That's the only time a postmark counts. So what's it mean for your signature not to count? I asked Denver for my records. These are all the signatures they have on file from the first time I registered to vote to the other times I've voted to my most recent ballot. They will compare that to what they have on file. If I do my, hey, this is my receipt, quick hand, that would not be accepted. Although I could do it once, it would be part of the register here, and then I'd have to say, hey, that's really my signature. Then they'd have to go back and say, you're good to go in the future.
This is kind of beside the point of your story, but have you ever thought about how fortunate you are to have a Z in your name? It's so fun for signatures. I've always wanted to do that. Look at, oh man, that's sweet. All right, Marshall Zellinger reporting. Post-election analysis used to be hard. I mean, you used to have to square up seemingly contradictory results at one time in your mind and then kind of figure out the balance. Well, why did one side win here and not on other sides? Well, nowadays, post-election analysis is a lot easier because you can just make up a claim of voter fraud to explain away a result that you don't like. That's what a prominent former state senator did today. Laura Woods, a Republican who represented Arvada, claimed that voter fraud and fraudulent ballots seemed to explain why Colorado elected Democrats but voted down statewide tax increases. No evidence, just an allegation, the kind that float faster through social media when they're not weighed down by the facts. You don't need to believe me when I tell you that that theory is nuttier than squirrel excrement. Former Senator Wood's own party, the Colorado Republican Party, told me today they have seen no evidence of voter fraud in our election. The oil and gas company that got run out of Westminster with its plans to drill under Stanley Lake is also getting run in Superior, where Highlands Natural Resources is bailing on its proposal to drill near the former Rocky Flats nuclear weapons plant. Superior's mayor pointed out that that site would have been 300 feet from the town's drinking water tank, and at town council last night, everybody who got up to speak was opposed. Adams County commissioners today voted to lift a temporary ban on new permits for drilling after voters statewide last week rejected a ballot proposal that would have severely restricted new development. The vote today in Adams County, 3-1, one commissioner absent. Commissioner Eva Henry was the one vote against. Before the election day, she was worried about an influx of permit applications from oil and gas companies trying to get in before new setbacks became law. But then again, of course, voters rejected those setbacks. Be glad you live in Colorado and not one of those places that was begging for Amazon to come save it, only to hear today that Amazon is predictably planting itself in New York and Washington. Amazon collected all the info from us and all those other cities, hidden details about infrastructure plans, development, incentives. So now that we're past Amazon's prime, we asked Metro Denver Economic Development Corporation to let us in on the secrets. What do we offer Amazon? Which places? Which incentives we're willing to give them? The Metro Denver EDC says we have to wait 3 years to find out. There's a non-disclosure agreement. It says that it is to protect the local real estate holders who are going to make the property available to Amazon, but now will make other plans. 3 years is a long time to wait in an era where 2-day delivery is now the norm, but I will set a reminder on my phone for the day that we find out what Colorado really offered Amazon. Our next question comes from a viewer named Mike. Wants to know about that big red construction crane that's been sitting off I-25 at 34 in Loveland for months now. Mike writes, I'd like to find out if our precious tax dollars are paying to house this crane, or if it's a very bad attempt at an art project, or if someone just forgot that it was there. Oh no, they knew it was there, Mike, and it's going to leave sometime this month. But then the crane's coming back. CDOT says the construction company working on the I-25 North Expansion project brought in the big crane for work on the I-25 Highway 34 junction back in July. Then they decided, change of plans. They were going to work on the Highway 402 project first, so they just parked the crane right there next to the interstate for everybody to look at. Well, now they need it on the junction project, so they're going to take it over to 402, and when that's done, they're going to put it right back where it's been sitting for months now. That interchange project work will continue late into 2019. So get used to seeing the crane. Coloradans tell us about their decision to give up their guns after a dementia diagnosis.
They are locked up and we don't know the combination. And we're going to keep it that way.
One of Colorado's top-ranked MMA fighters just wants to be understood.
I don't really like the bear. It sounds a little too mean. I'm more like a cuddly bear. And he started cracking up, laughing, and he said, that's it.
And crossing a line is contagious. Next.
All week, we'll be discussing the state of Colorado. Like, is it better to buy or rent? Can you really get by without a car?
I'm going to try to give up my car for 1 week in Denver.
And how do you get by through the holidays on a budget? Join us weekday mornings for Getting By Week.
Oops, wrong graphic. We're going to zip past this one. Oh, God. Oh, here's Bernie.
Taking my dog right now.
Oh
my gosh.
This place was saving my life, providing me that which I couldn't provide for myself.
The homeless and less fortunate just need a second chance and a second opportunity. The Food Bank of the Rockies is everything.
As a human being, we have an obligation to our fellow man. If you're donating for any other reason, you're donating for your own humanity.
We need your help. Donate non-perishable food, clothing, toys, and cash to 9 Cares Colorado Shares on November 17th. Give someone in need a second chance.
Todo está bien. Did you have a good summer?
I'm on track to do something good.
Our school, come on. We love weird kids.
This is me.
Place was like wow. It's going to be great today.
I think that's amazing.
I want to welcome everybody.
That girl portrays determination.
That was a tight squeeze.
Oh, wow. Keeping my fingers crossed.
Too often we fall into this, there's this side and there's this side. Well, you know what? Sometimes this side isn't telling the truth, and we should be saying that. It's important to hear things you don't agree with because it is the single best way to test your own beliefs. It's a sign of thoughtfulness to hear a perspective that you disagree with and to say, you know what? I hadn't considered that. That's a really good point. I want to give you a fresh perspective, something that you haven't thought of. It doesn't matter if you agree. It just matters that we listen to each other.
From the sidelines to the front office, get the inside story from the ultimate insider. Broncos Sideline Stories with Jim Sacamano. Saturday nights at 9:30 on Channel 20.
This state would have more parking if some drivers would stop crossing the line. You know what I'm saying? Never imagined that you beautiful people would be sending us a ton of pictures each day, but you do. So we'll keep shaking our collective heads at parking jobs like the domino effect Tim spotted outside the AMC Bowles Crossing movie theater down in Littleton. So I suppose one of these cars was here first, right? And the one driver's like, yeah, I'll take half a space. Or you know what? If you want to give me half yours, I'll take that. If you want to tell somebody you've crossed the line, email next at 9news.com.
After a beautiful day, a lovely November evening in Denver. Clear, cool, dry, and calm, followed by a day where highs doubled from yesterday. Still below average, but we're trending in the right direction. And with high pressure anchored over the area, that northwest flow will bring us a dry weather pattern for about 72 hours. The dominant high pressure ridge also responsible for the deadly fire weather in California. But the ridge is shifting, improving conditions for California and better weather here, too. We're going to warm up with temperatures close to 60 as the cool air retreats into the Midwest. Low pressure slides east of Houston, and we have quiet weather until the weekend. But now a second cold front coming in, and that could mean snow for us by Saturday morning. Most of the heavy snow will stay north of Denver through Fort Collins, Cheyenne, and Sterling, but about an inch or so of snow possible here for the first half of your weekend. Not tonight. Clear, cool, dry, and our low at 26. Tomorrow, temperatures close to 60. A pattern we'll see repeat on Thursday and Friday. Cold front Friday night, cloudy and colder with light snow Saturday, high 38, warmer on Sunday, and then into the 50s we go Monday and Tuesday. And if you were up early, this was the glorious sunrise. This shot coming in from Russ Panneton in Netherland, Kyle.
I was not, so I appreciate you sharing it. Thank you, Kathy. We would like to thank a next viewer here tonight, a viewer brave enough to share a difficult moment in her family's life. It gives us perspective, though, on a tough conversation. When someone we love is diagnosed with dementia and there are guns in the house. Carol Bates first shared her family story with NPR, then reached out to us. Here's our new show.
3 years into their marriage, as much as she wanted to, Carol Bates couldn't avoid it. The things that made her Lloyd were starting to falter.
And he was trying very hard to be engaged in the moment, but it was nearly impossible.
There's at times I just wondered if I was thinking as good as I should.
Lloyd, who's a veteran, was diagnosed with dementia, and because of a caregiver soon after that, he and his wife agreed one of the things he was an expert at was the very thing that could hurt them.
Do you know Lloyd has a gun in his nightstand? And I said, yes. I said, he used to be a deputy sheriff, and he always has his gun right there. And he said, well, that is not good with his state of mind. I did some checking and found out he could get mixed up in the night. He might not know it's me. That's when we decided to lock them up.
I just thought it was a good idea.
The talk is anything but easy, which is why Emmy Betts at CU Anschutz helped come up with this letter.
Agreement with my family about my firearms.
She says that conversation should start as soon as possible, hoping a letter like this can help someone living with dementia make decisions for themselves.
So this paper can be sort of a conversation starter
and serve as a reminder down the line.
It can be locking it up at home. They can do things like disable the firearms.
It just never dawned on me that that could ever be a problem.
But when it did, Bates said they didn't want to test fate.
He thinks he's just fine, and I think he's just fine.
So big thanks to Carol and Lloyd. They were sharing their story while on vacation in Texas. We also were able to talk to a psychologist at the VA and vets from CU Anschutz who said, remember that some people may be more attached to their guns or feel like some of this is eating away at their independence. So Kyle, they say it is important to remember that you are asking someone to give up something, to let it go at a very difficult time in their life, especially since they're saying start this early on when they're kind of taking it all in with that diagnosis.
It reminds me so much of the conversations the families have over independence and car keys, and rather than independence, this is security. But start that conversation early is what they say.
Yeah, and it's all kind of under the same umbrella. It's all security, right? Whether it's getting behind the wheel or making sure that you're safe in your own home, and it's easier to have that conversation earlier on versus later as the disease progresses, and that conversation could be more difficult.
Tough enough without the confusion, the anger, that kind of thing. All right, Anusha, thank you very much. It's been a while since we talked, like face to face, not through the TV screen thing. At the election last week, pretty good excuse for us to get back together again, shall we? So let's just talk about what is happening in Colorado and across our country. Are you feeling hopeful or frustrated or confused? You remember Let's Just Talk. It's our way of getting together Coloradans who have different perspectives but a shared interest in talking with their neighbors. And I'll be there to help keep your conversation going. You know how to reach me. Shoot me a note. Next at 9news.com. Colorado's top-ranked heavyweight MMA fighter swears he did not get into this just to beat people up.
I don't fight out of aggression or because I got built up anger issues or whatnot. For me, I'm a competitor.
On New Year's Eve, he'll compete for $1 million. And what a lesson for all the kids going to school. Next.
Abandoned. You're stranded here at the hospital, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Patients stranded in Denver hospitals. Where do they come from?
We don't really have nowhere to go.
Even worse, they end up there from places you don't expect. Why can't they leave?
Where can they go now? They're often still at our hospitals. This is a system-wide failure.
So many of these cases are heartbreaking.
9 wants to know why. Tonight on 9 News at 10.
Which one of you is horny?
How did I get here?
My mom was horrible and drove me to drink, which led to drugs. Remember me? But I cleaned up my act. Wish I hadn't spit in his latte. For that glamorous...
You look like a slutty highlighter.
Single mom life.
Why aren't you wearing pants? I was relaxing.
And now I'm back here, living with my mom.
That changes everything. You deserve a cupcake.
5 nights a week on Channel 20.
Gift giving is hard.
Gift giving is an art. What do you give the person who's got everything?
I gave her a heifer.
You're giving me a cow for my birthday?
It's a farm animal.
It's more than a gift.
A farm animal helps families in hunger. Gifts like this change lives.
Give different. Christmas, Valentine's Day, Hanukkah, whatever you want.
Give a family life.
It's more than a gift.
It's the best gift I ever gave.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions.
Prescription drugs aren't as bad as street drugs, right?
Weed's legal, isn't it?
Drinking is worse than smoking weed.
Isn't it? Why
is heroin so addictive?
Molly just makes you feel happy.
I have questions.
Mom?
Dad, did you ever try drugs?
They're going to ask. Be ready. Go to drugfree.org. A message from Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Our players are challenged every time they hit this field. But every moment in life is a challenge for a young man with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a lethal genetic disorder. You can help.
Text CURE to 50555 to donate $10 for the 10th anniversary of the AFCA's Coach to Cure MD. Text CURE to 50555.
Coach to Cure MD, because these young men deserve a chance to win. Right, Dominic?
Right, Coach.
Text CURE today.
It's a sign that the spelling bee just shrank by one contestant, the person who painted the school crossing sign on University, the school crossing sign on University across from St. Mary's Academy. How does it go? School days, forget the spelling rules days. Keep sending us signs with the hashtag #HeyNext. Josh Copeland planned to be a youth minister, not a professional fighter. But he's going to be throwing punches for the mixed martial arts heavyweight title on December 31st. $1 million on the line at Madison Square Garden. Perhaps not what you'd expect from a guy nicknamed Cuddly Bear.
Where I am today is a complete dream. I'm extremely blessed, thankful, lucky, and just ready to seize the opportunity. Yes. My name's Josh, nickname's Cuddly Bear, last name's Copeland. I'm in the Professional Fighters League. I've been ranked #1 in Colorado, #1 heavyweight for, say, the last 4 years. There's definitely plenty of shots that'll ring your bell out there in a fight. You can still see it from October 5th. That split was to the skull. I have fun when I fight. I don't fight out of aggression. I love competition, but for the most part, you're getting cracked and thinking, oh, good shot, great setup, or you're not thinking, oh, you're coming after my mom, or you shouldn't have said that, or whatnot. So I went to college for youth ministry, had a heart, passion for kids, and wanted to be a youth pastor and just be able to pour into kids, encourage them to be something better, and wound up getting into jiu-jitsu back in 2005 in Dallas, Texas. And yeah, one thing led to another, and here I am today. I love people. I love interacting. I'm a physical guy. I love to give big hugs, piggyback rides, and all of that. So it's I definitely think I'm more of a cuddly bear than some big, tough, mean guy.
Conversation with MMA fighter Josh Copeland through the lens of our photojournalist Corky Scholl. Copeland says if he wins the $1 million pot, he's confident it won't change Cuddly Bear. Your feedback is spicy tonight, and I can't quite make sense of the most Colorado thing we saw today.
Okay, we're at Vertical Skills Academy. We've been here all morning, and I'm talking to James. He said that he likes watching the news, but there's one show that he likes more than any. What show is that, James?
It's Next because they have a lot of funny segments on Next.
Look at there. Stooped Again by Kyle Clark. Thank you, James.
Know the Johnsons 5 nights a week.
How about I give you $100?
No, 200, and you agree not to have any more children.
Okay, that's a decision I have. No.
A traditional family.
I'm here to help.
You're not Mom.
Where's Mom?
And an unconventional comedy.
I think you look good for your age, Dad.
40's not bad, right?
You're only 40? Good Lord, you've lived a hard life.
Weekdays starting at 5 p.m. on Channel 20.
We don't have to agree. Let's just talk. Next, weekdays at 6 on 9 News.
These girls are too much.
Can I have your attention, everyone? That depends. Are you a cat video? Too funny. Here's your fish of the day. That day is last Monday. Too wild. Together. Caroline's got a date tonight. It's not a joke. I'm really going on a date. Stop it. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna pee.
Two broke girls.
5 nights a week on Channel 20.
Jewish Family Service distributes tons of food to the hungry, counsels hundreds of people in pain, employs those with disabilities, provides hope and help to seniors, helps the unemployed get jobs, and assists refugees new to America.
Touching 21,000 people every single year.
JFS does so much, and yet it comes down to you. You have the power to change the world.
You think it's the end. You're not gonna live.
We were in a moment of terror.
It was just a horrible scene.
I turned around and looked at my house, and I realized that I didn't have a house anymore.
This is how you say, it's going to be okay, to someone who just lost everything. That yes, we'll find you somewhere to stay. And yes, your children will have breakfast. Every 8 minutes, the American Red Cross responds to a disaster and makes this promise. Help us keep it.
The most Colorado thing we saw today is honestly a mystery to me. Either somebody in Louisville thinks fire hydrants get chilly, or that is simply how they do the lost and found in that beautiful town. Brian spotted the mystery beanie just off Main Street. So much feedback about the idea of a Colorado Olympics tonight. Mark McFarland writes, well, now that the Dems are in power, count on this happening. They will raise your taxes for this. Slow your roll, Mark. The incoming Democratic governor-elect Jared Polis is the guy who is putting a stop to this idea. Also talked today on Twitter to State Senator Carrie Donovan. She represents Vail. She's a Democrat as well. And she also is not enthused about this idea. Says nobody up in Vail is clamoring for it either. D.T. Hunter says, I'm okay with this coming to Colorado if none of our tax dollars go to funding any part of it. It would be the first Olympics to ever accomplish that. We will keep asking questions about how that might happen. Patrick Payne says, put the Olympics on the ballot and watch it fail. Here's what you need to watch for, Patrick. The people who are pushing the Olympics, Denver Mayor Hancock, Governor Hickenlooper, they're talking about putting this on the ballot in Colorado in 2020, a non-binding resolution. We keep asking people, put it up for a pass-fail vote. What do you say? We've yet to get a commitment. Andy Barrett said, saw you interview President Obama. How disrespectful you were. Never watched 9 News since. Andy, that was 2012. That was 6 years ago. I know you're still watching. See you next time.
Subscribe to the Next YouTube channel for the best of Next and some other stuff.